Now I gotta talk about something major that just flew under the radar for a lot of people. Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund now owns up to 30% of Sotheby's. Now let me break that down and tell you guys what that actually means and why it matters more than most people even realize. This is about power. Let me tell you, it's about influence. It's about visibility. And the art world is changing. It's changing, okay? And I think that we have to pay attention to it. Let me be clear. This wasn't a business move. This wasn't an investment. This was cultural positioning. What's going on, glorifiers? For those of you who are new, I'm Mariah Elise, an art advisor and curator dedicated to making the art world more accessible to everyone through insights, conversations, discovery, and now through fantasy art collecting. Let's start with some background on Sotheby's. They were founded in 1744. It's one of the most powerful auction houses in the world, and for a long time it was publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Now that changed in 2019 when it was taken private by French-Israeli billionaire Patrick Drahi in a $3.7 billion deal. Since then, Drahi has been the main shareholder, but earlier this year, Sotheby's leadership quietly confirmed that Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund, ADQ, now owns up to 30% of the company. And they didn't even buy out old shares. They got newly issued equity, which means their money went directly into Sotheby's operations. Now, y'all know I had to do a little digging on this because I really wanted to understand what that means and how it works. And I learned a lot of new things, some things that I know I have to share. Now, hear me out. They didn't buy old shares from someone else. Sotheby's actually created brand new shares just for them. That process is called issuing new equity. And what it means is, instead of money going into someone's pocket, that $1 billion from Abu Dhabi went directly into Sotheby's businesses. That's like expanding the pie and giving someone a big new slice. And yes, it does reduce the ownership percentage of everyone else unless they also buy more to keep their slice the same size. That's called dilution. So let's say equity was first sliced from 100%. So if you owned 50 out of the 100 shares before, which is 50%, and now the company creates 100 new shares and sells them to someone else, now you own 50% out of 200, which is only 25%. So yes, anyone who owned shares before gets diluted unless they buy more to keep their percentage in the company. Abu Dhabi didn't just buy a seat at the table in this scenario. They're helping pay for debt, and they're also paying for an expansion plan. If you're like me, you also may be wondering, how the hell does a government own a piece of Sotheby's? Well, now we have to talk about ADQ, who I also just learned about. So, who is ADQ? It's one of several massive sovereign wealth funds run by the government of Abu Dhabi. Their job is to invest the state's oil wealth into sectors that will help diversify and grow the UAE economy. They have over $200 billion in assets, and they've been moving aggressively and strategically into industries like ports and food and security and healthcare. And now the art market. This has been really interesting to learn. Now, here's why this matters from my seat as an advisor to my community and an educator in helping you understand the nuances of the art market. When a foreign government, especially one from a region investing heavily in cultural influence, becomes a major owner of a market maker like Sotheby's, it completely changes the landscape. And y'all, we also have to wonder about the political influence that could come with that. I'm not saying it's all bad, but when a state-backed fund owns a big part of a company that decides what art gets seen, what gets visibility, how it's sold, and who gets access, it opens the door for a lot of questions. Could this shape what kind of works are prioritized, or where the biggest auctions happen? Could it subtly influence how Sotheby's navigates topics that are politically or culturally sensitive in that area, in that region? We don't know yet, but it's something to keep in mind because of cultural positioning. And that always comes with a layer of politics, right? What I naturally focus on is the influences around things to try and understand why specific things are happening. This is about who shapes the system that sells it, who helps place value, and decides what gets global visibility. It's about influence. It's about cultural positioning. The UAE and its neighbors like Qatar and Saudi Arabia have been making strategic moves in the art world for over a decade. But you guys may have noticed most recently, they've opened world-class museums like the Louvre, Abu Dhabi. They're building new institutions like the Guggenheim, Abu Dhabi. They're hosting fairs, they're funding acquisitions. But buying into Sotheby's, that's next level. That's not just participating, okay? That is not just participating. That's helping direct the flow of the market. Now, before we talk about what that means for artists and collectors, if this information is really resonating with you and you want to dig a little deeper, you want some deeper insight, focus more on your career building as an artist or your collection building as a collector, I really think you'll love what we're doing inside the Glory Collective on Patreon. It's a lot more holistic and focused. This week is all about power, legacy, and the art world you're building. We're breaking down how power shapes the market and how to respond to it as an artist or a collector with long-term strategy, clarity, and vision. On Monday, we're getting into The Creative Act by Rick Rubin in our book club. Last week, we went over chapter 1 through 20, really short chapters. And this week, we're digging into chapter 20 through 40. This book focuses on how creativity begins with presence and stillness and not control. And I think that's so foundational to start the week off with, especially in such a buzzing market. Now, you guys know I'm building a fantasy art collection. So on Tuesday, I share this week's fantasy collection journal. On Wednesday, we have an exclusive video, which is all about how to read the art market report, the Art Basel by UBS report, and we're going to do that in real time. So if you're an artist, a collector, so if you're trying to just like find your place in this space, in this market, in this ever-changing market, I really encourage you guys check out the Glory Collective. And I'd really encourage you guys start with the Building Glory tier. In that tier, you'll get access to all the strategy videos, all the workshops, all the live sessions, all the workshops. And if you're someone who wants some one-on-one support, that could be an artist that's looking to map their career and they need some help mapping their career and setting strategy in their career. Or it could be a collector setting strategy for their art collection. You should join the Mastering Glory tier. That's a space for that one-on-one. But if you just want to put your feet in the water and become a part of the community and get a ton of researches, you should join the Starting Glory tier. That's there as well. So anyway, what does it mean if you're an artist or a collector when these big political, governmental things happen like this? Sotheby's is already expanding in the region. Okay, so they just opened an office and they also held their first inaugural auction, which achieved $17 million. With ADQ involved, I expect a lot more to come in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Regional visibility will grow. Artists from or connected to the Gulf region are likely to receive more attention. I know a lot of folks from the Gulf region watch this channel from looking at my statistics. So this is really good information for everyone. This is a global market. We all need to know this information. What we're also going to see, and what I'm already seeing, is curatorial interest shift to match these new centers of influence. It's already showing up, guys. Just pay attention. It's already happening. For collectors, competition is rising, okay? That's a brand new market. We're not just talking about New York and London and Hong Kong anymore. With Gulf state funds backing acquisitions and owning part of the platform itself, expect increasing bidding power on blue chip works and contemporary works from that area. That changes the dynamics around access. That changes the dynamic around pricing. That changes the dynamic around gatekeepers. New gatekeepers are emerging. Collectors used to look mainly to New York, London, Hong Kong. Now Abu Dhabi is in the room. This isn't nothing new. We've seen shifts like this before. We'll see them again. In the 1980s, Japanese buyers dominated the art market, setting auction records. In the 2000s, Chinese collectors transformed the landscape. Today, it's the Gulf. But what's different is the scale of infrastructure building. The Gulf is not just buying art. They're not controlling the acquisitions. They're building the museums. They're having the biennials, and now owning the auction houses. That's a whole new level of market integration. Now, as an advisor, I have to tell you, I want to tell you, watch not just what's selling, but who is selling it. Watch where it's being sold and who controls the platforms. There are many ways to be a student of this market. Understanding some of the politics doesn't take the joy out of the art. Well, it doesn't for me. It might for you, and if it does for you, protect yourself, protect your peace, and protect what's giving you joy. This is joyful for me, so that's why I dig into it. This move by Abu Dhabi is a clear signal that the art market's power structure is totally shifting. It also means that building or managing a collection today and at any point really requires understanding these geopolitical and economic forces. And if you just don't have time for that, if you just need these snippets to know what's understanding and you don't want to read all the articles and flood your body with that type of energy, then just watch this channel. Or come talk to me and we can talk about it briefly, and then you can go about your day and I'll continue to harp on these thoughts. You can't just rely on assumptions and headlines. You kind of got to dig, or you kind of have to be a part of a community that's digging. If you're an artist or a collector or someone really trying to understand where this market is going, it's the time to pay attention, or pay attention to someone who's paying attention. The ground is shifting, and like always, those who understand the shifts early will be in the best position to navigate them. I want you to remember, it doesn't matter what group you belong to. It doesn't matter if you're an artist, a collector, or just here for the love of art. This channel is your resource. It's your source. It's your home. Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking about this news. How are you feeling about Abu Dhabi? Does it spark anything for you? I want to know how you feel about this being a major power center in the art market, and what you think about it, and what you think it means for the future. I want to thank you guys for watching Dear Glory, and don't forget to sign up for my newsletter. In my newsletter, you kind of get everything in one place. You'll get an understanding what's happening in the Glory ecosystem. If you want to say like our newsletter, our Patreon, the YouTube channel, you'll get all of that in one place plus more. So I'll see you guys somewhere, whether that's the Patreon, the newsletter, here. If you're just here, please comment, follow on Instagram. I ask you guys to become a deeper part of the community and share your thoughts with me. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys soon. See y'all next time. Peace.